right. Buzz or no buzz, we are officially recording. If I have to do something to fix it in post, I will. Welcome back, boys. It hasn't been quite a minute. We did record an episode at the beginning of last month, at the beginning of July or end of June or somewhere in there, and that was one of our more random misshapen episodes, as I
Indeed.
recall. And that's why I'm drinking Coke. Because I think the best explanation for what happened last time is I was already 2 drinks in when we started, and then I kept going. So I was not able to perform my usual function of herding
Damn it.
rhetorical cats. And instead I was just kind of bouncing around and laughing, which...
Yeah, not enough. God damn it, Kieran.
Not enough, God damn it, Kieran. Yeah, so I need to be... I'm on my A game tonight. I will be ready
You got it.
discuss the thing that needs most to be discussed, which is
Oh, nice.
Transformers.
Pull that back. I may have that issue somewhere.
Yep, this is my lone Transformers comic. It is from the October of 1989.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't. It's from the time when I think Ratchet was running the Autobots, because no, it's from a different time. It's from a different time because Optimus Prime is in this and he's raging, but it's definitely post Transformers the movie Optimus Prime.
It's probably, is it written by Simon Furman and art by something Wildman?
It doesn't say on the cover. I'd have to look into it. Why don't I look into it?
Why don't you?
Why don't I?
So, delicate and generous readers, tonight, if you could not guess, we are going into the pop culture and other things of Transformers, robots in disguise.
Yeah, robots in disguise. That's what they were. What were you asking me? Who are you looking for, Kieran?
I wanted to see if Simon Furman was the writer and if Andrew Wildman was the artist.
Simon Furman has story, penciling by Jose Delbo, inking by Dave Hunt, lettering by Jim Massara, coloring by Neil Yompton, editing Don Daly, and editor-in-chief Tom DeFalco. That's the October 1989 issue of Transformers in Marvel Comics. It cost $1 to purchase in the fall of 1989, $1.25 in Canada.
Now, Transformers has a unique distinction with two other toy licensed products at Marvel of having the longest runs. The other one, I think the longest one was ROM. The second ROM Space Knight. The second longest, I believe, was G.I. Joe. And Transformers was the third.
What is ROM? What is that?
ROM, the Space Knight? ROM, the Space Knight was a not incredibly articulated or attractive-looking electronic toy by Tomy that Marvel went and integrated into their mainline universe and wrote some really good dynamic stories. And, he crossed over with the X-Men, the Avengers, he's shown up since in his human form because they can't use his licensed alien cyborg, because he was ROM, the Space Knight.
Okay.
Now, funny enough, IDW, who got the licensing rights to Transformers, and G.I. Joe also got the licensing rights to ROM and had all three of them in the same universe.
When was this? When did this occur?
This was actually within the past 5 years. It was not long ago.
Okay.
Fascinating.
Yeah. So let us go back to a simpler time. Let us go back to the 1980s.
I love it when you're sincere, Karen. It's wonderful.
The 1980s, a time that I remember all too well.
A sincere time? The 1980s? Is that what we're saying?
Not sincere, just a time I remember well.
Okay. Fine.
The 80s was a time of much confusion. Reagan was in office.
Of confusion, indeed.
Reagan was in office. MTV was king. And
the Cold War was on.
The Cold War was on, and toy commercials disguised as cartoons was the lay of the land.
It really was.
Now,
It's astounding when you think back how much television that we watched and was specifically marketed to us was nothing more than a half-hour commercial for toys.
Yeah. No, it's
And
true.
and not only that, but like this wasn't something that was a big secret. Like everybody knew that's what it was. Maybe not
Absolutely.
us, but we didn't like even on some level we knew like there because there's always a toy line attached to the show. Always.
Yep.
So
Always.
I'm going to break this into Transformers history into two parts here.
Okay, here we go.
One is going to be the official origin of Transformers, and then the other history is going to be my personal history with Transformers.
So the second part is going to be the ranty part.
Not yet.
Okay, because we were promised ranting.
The ranting occurs into my cultural dissection of Transformers.
All right, here we go. All right, let's.
So first, a bit of history.
Let's start.
Transformers found its origin, strangely enough, in the, correct me on the height of this, 6 to 7 inch tall G.I. Joe toy.
That's correct.
This toy was licensed by Takara in Japan, and they created a line called Henshin Robo, or Henshin Cyborg. Henshin Cyborg then turned into Microman.
Microman!
Or Micronauts over here. It was and so the Transformers line was exported. The Microman line was exported into 3 different toy lines here. The first one was Mego figures, were an offshoot of the Microman because you could change. Mego figures were the ones Twisted Mego Theater, Michael.
Oh, sure.
Why you know that?
Okay.
They were the dolls with the little cloth outfits.
Right.
Then you had the Micronauts, which were direct from Microman.
Microman!
Microman became into the Micro Change toy line, and then a separate toy line called Diaclone. Now, from the Micro Change, you've got Soundwave, the cassettes, and Perceptor, and Megatron. From the Diaclone line, you pretty much got all the other Transformers.
Oh, okay.
Now in the Micro Change line, those were all aliens that were actually that small as the actual toys were.
Mm-hmm.
In the Diaclone series, those were piloted powered armor.
So kind of like Gundam.
Yeah, kind of like Gundam. Robotech.
I always thought Gundam and Robotech always looked like Transformers to me, probably because they have the same animators. But I'm getting ahead of the story. Kieran, all this evolution was going on during like the 1970s, right? From the late 60s to the early 70s. Because we're talking about the 6-inch G.I. Joes. That goes back.
Yeah, but in Japan, the actual toy lines that came from that were like 70s.
Yeah.
Now, about, I'm going to say 83, 84, Hasbro, having seen the success of a bunch of shit, I don't know the official story, but somehow they got interest in the whole Takara toy lines, brought it over here.
The well-known A Bunch of Shit toy line from 1982.
And Bob Budiansky was assigned by Marvel to write profiles for personalities for all these Transformers, Autobot, and Decepticon, and he wrote the initial origin. And the initial origin in the comic books of Transformers, as first published, was that Transformers were machine entities from a planet of naturally evolving gears and pulleys that somehow became intelligent robot life, which I guess that means it's some utter bullshit, but whatever the fuck. It's the pseudoscience that comic books is infamous for.
Yeah.
And why, despite having microwaved a bunch of wolf spiders, I still have yet to achieve any Spider-Man powers, but I do have a hell of a rash. What are you going to do? And so, from the Marvel comic book, which was advertised on TV of all things, came a 4-issue limited series. And around the same time, Sunbow Productions, which was Marvel Animation, did the Hasbro cartoon, which was largely animated in Japan by Toei. those fine purveyors of, well, Dragon Ball, and Dragon Ball Z, and all kinds of sweet shit like
Sailor
that. And the
Moon.
D&D cartoon. The
Sailor
D&D
Moon.
cartoon. Sailor Moon.
Yeah, that's how my girls
Okay.
call it. Every time it comes on and they're watching it on like Hulu or something, I always go toilet animation, and they find that hilarious because they're little children. And I'm their father, and I enjoy ruining things.
And I enjoy ruining things too. So that's how it all got started. It blew up immensely. The comic book went real well. You had the movie.
So the comic book and the toy line and the TV show were all produced concurrently. It wasn't a case of one thing took off, so let's make the other things. It was
it was a
full spectrum. We're doing this all at once.
Yes, this is how they would launch. This is how they would launch these kind of products back then. Now, Hasbro,
I find that fascinating.
Had no idea that come 30 years later they'd still have a brand.
No, but they hoped they would. I mean,
No. They were hoping maybe 3 or 4 years at best.
Because that was the average. How long the average toy line basically?
Yeah,
I suppose that's true.
If you made it to 5 years, like, you clearly like hit pay dirt. The fact that they still, like, there's still toys. They still have, like, they're still making money off of it.
I mean, that's one of the things that's one of the things that made Star Wars such a thing, was that with the support of and just the movies alone, because it's really the only media they had for it, unless you want to count the Star Wars Holiday Special, and we don't.
Marvel has had a very long Star Wars comic book run that started almost. They did, but I don't really feel that helped support the toy purchases. Honestly,
no, probably not. It was the movies.
Yeah,
and Lucas was smart because he got a big old chunk of that merchandising.
Yeah, that's probably what kicked it off, was Star Wars, because if Star Wars sold a bunch of toys, so then throughout the 80s, everyone was like, if you've got a thing, have a toy line, have a show, have a comic book, have all the things. And this may have been the most successful one.
Transformers had a sort of lightning in the bottle effect that, I mean, its concurrent toy line that did nowhere near as good as well, GoBots.
Right.
Hanna-Barbera.
Right.
Now here's GoBots' problem wasn't its animation. GoBots' problem was that almost every single one of their transforming toys looked the level of ass of the original Ratchet and Ironhide toys, which looked like utter
I had an Ironhide. I remember that one.
You know that then.
Yeah.
And here's where we diverge.
Have a head. Why doesn't it have a head? He has a head on the show, but he doesn't have a head. The toy doesn't have a head. How lazy are you that you didn't give him a head?
So this is where we now segue into my personal history with Transformers. Now, I watched the fuck out of Transformers. I had the limited. I watched it every day. Same here. I had the 4-issue limited series by Marvel, which the very first cover was done by, I can't remember his name. I can't pronounce it, but he's the one that did the New Mutants, the original New Mutants stuff. Really good painter.
Oh, I know who you're talking about, and I can't.
You know who I'm talking about
right now. Yeah.
And I've been trying to get a copy. I actually emailed him and asked, did he sell like a poster-sized copy of Transformers issue 1 with his art, the cover of it, because the art is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So my personal history: Christmas was coming up. Now, my mother knew, if anything, 2 things about me. I loved Transformers, and I loved dinosaurs.
Okay.
Well-known fact. I'd loved dinosaurs since a little kid.
Okay.
So what would you think? What would you think would be a shoo-in for a Transformer toy for me for Christmas?
Dinobot.
A Dinobot, not all 5 of them.
Oh wow! Awesome.
I've got.
I have a Dinobot.
With these things. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
The Dinobots were great.
Yeah, they were.
They were
but
the best
do you
ones.
know? They were. But do you know what I got? I didn't get a Dinobot. Oh no! You know what my mother?
What did you
got me? She got me motherfucking Ratchet.
Womp womp.
by dint of being a rescue vehicle, was even shittier than Ironhide, despite sharing the same exact dumb fuck looking mold that I'm looking like. And like, this transforms from a van into a piece of shit.
Hey, Ratchet was a useful character in the story in the comic books. Ironhide never
But
got
he-
a comic devoted to him.
But he ain't look a thing like that in the real toy. He looks like that now.
I know, because he
But-
doesn't have a head.
Yep.
The interesting thing is that on the TV show there were like 4 or 5 like core characters, and there were a bunch of toys who maybe showed up like once and had like one line. Like I had a Blue Streak, right? There was never a Blue Streak centered episode. I don't even know if I ever heard him speak once, but I had one. Or any of the fighter jets aside from Starscream, who cares, right?
Right.
So my friend Phil, I had this friend named Philip that I rode the bus with, and we were good friends. And he was a child that also had divorced parents, but his divorced parents had money and were competing for his affection. So he had all of the Transformers.
A more innocent time.
All of them. I had divorced parents, but they weren't competing for my affection. No.
All right.
No, clearly my mother never loved me because I got Ratchet. I suppose I should count myself lucky I didn't get a GoBot. I suppose.
You should, because it wasn't always easy. I mean, imagine being a parent back then and having to distinguish between all these different things.
It's a dinosaur and a robot, and your child loves dinosaurs and robots. It's sort of a no fucking brainer. And thus started my parental neglect.
What year was this, Kieran?
I don't know, 85, 84, 85, 86, some shit like that.
And you're still mad about it. That's amazing.
Hey, do you know how much therapy bills my parents could have saved if I just would have gotten Slag or Grimlock? A lot, dude.
The Dinobots had such great personalities on the TV shows. They were dumb and loud and comedic.
Hostile.
They were the only ones that were allowed to be funny. Because they were so over the top. And it was amazing.
They're basically some shit Wheeljack and Ratchet did on a drunk bender weekend after going to the Natural History Museum. Like, oh wow, big fucking lizards. We should totally make some of those to whoop Megatron's bitch ass. I'm like, or like you could refit some of your existing Transformers into more hardcore fucking alt modes. But
that's not going to sell toys, Kieran.
Yeah, it is. New versions of the same toys.
No, you need new versions, new toys altogether.
They do that now.
You need new toys altogether. And that's why Transformers the movie happened, as well we know.
Oh, God, Transformers the movie, man.
Transformers the movie, in which they killed off the entire generation of Transformers in order to replace them with new ones, and even turned some existing characters into new characters.
Wherein Hasbro did not realize they killed our robot dad.
Well,
yes,
Robot John Wayne.
Robot John Wayne was our father. Damn it,
he was kind of Robot John Wayne, and I think that's kind of why they didn't think it would be a good deal, because there were 1 or 2 flicks in which John Wayne's character did die. You know, the Cowboys, the Shootist. It happened. It occasionally happened. So I just thought that they thought we would just bounce back and demand more toys, and didn't think that it would bother us. And I think it's insane to think how rarely something like that happened, where we watch these shows with all these huge hulking warrior type of characters, and not just like GoBots or Transformers, but like think of
He-Man,
Thundercats, or He-Man, or all these G.I. Joe, where there's all this shooting and all this violence, but no one ever dies.
Right.
No one ever dies. Like, you could watch a Transformers episode that would always end in a climactic battle in which, a character would get damaged occasionally, but never fatally. Then the one time that they actually showed what happens when you use a laser cannon to destroy a thing, we stood there going, ah! It speaks to how sheltered we were from the realities of life.
Oh,
Well,
sure.
no. I think it was our expectation of cartoons. Like I'd seen Highlander by that point. I'd seen a few horror movies. I was very familiar with the fact that characters die. But characters don't die in cartoons. Anime wasn't that well known yet. Okay, Roy Fokker died in Robotech, but this was before that. I
Sure.
think.
Yeah.
Okay, and that was a big, important, dramatic lead up for Rick Hunter to be able to take over as the ace, okay?
Yeah.
But we had gotten to know Rick Hunter and known to love him.
And even in some of the early anime that came over, like Voltron, was structured pretty much the same way.
They cut out all the deaths of Voltron.
Yeah.
Sven just got sick.
Oh, is that what happened?
Sick.
Yep.
In the actual Go Lion, Sven died.
Yep.
I never
Sven
knew that.
fucking
I always
died.
wondered what happened to Sven. Where's Sven?
It was also that Voltron for us was actually kind of like Robotech. That was actually 2 shows stuck together.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
It was supposed to be 3. Supposed to be 3.
Yeah, there was a third universe that never came over here.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Super Electronic Al Vegas or some shit like that.
Yeah.
But so Transformers, I mean, the only really thing with the staying power of Transformers, honestly, was G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe,
yeah.
But G.I. Joe was an easy sell.
And G.I. Joe's been around since forever.
G.I. Joe is an easy sell.
That goes back to the 60s, comic books in the 60s, and really, the term came out of World War II itself.
I'm actually surprised we did not get a G.I. Joe movie in a live action one in the 90s, because honestly, while G.I. Joe occasionally dabbled in high tech, that was typically Cobra that had the weird high tech shit. And G.I. Joe's just had standard issue military vehicles that already existed that they just rebranded as other things.
Yeah, Cobra had cool stuff. I mean, they also had A-10 Warthogs that were supposed to function as fighter jets. One of those things that you don't realize does not work at all.
No.
It's like when you find out that the SR-71 Blackbird is just a surveillance plane.
Well, it also had to immediately refuel once it took off.
Sure.
And because
it leaked.
You had the fuselage didn't actually seal up until it was going for a while, so it was just pouring fuel out of it. So the first thing to do for every mission was to go and refuel midair and then go fly. It was also it wasn't really particularly stealthy because it was just but it moved so goddamn fast that they couldn't shoot it down.
Yeah.
So that its top speed is still classified?
Yeah. Also, how far it can actually, how far into the Earth's orbit it could actually go.
It's still classified. Maximum altitude and top speed are still. And man, it took them forever to come up with a black SR-71 Blackbird Transformer. Man, it took them balls forever to do that.
It's still the coolest looking plane, and it still has the coolest name and designation. I mean, SR-71 Blackbird. It just folds.
The only thing,
nothing ever sounded cooler.
No, absolutely.
The only thing that comes close is the F-117 Nighthawk. Or F-17 Nighthawk, the stealth fighter. That thing looked like a fucking angular nightmare. And that was actually true stealth. That thing was true stealth because it was designed to make radar waves make it look much smaller than it was. To a radar, the Nighthawk looks like a sparrow.
Oh, that thing is cool. I've seen those.
Yeah, man.
Oh, yeah. Actually, that is
it got adapted in one of the Robotech series. That got adapted into a Valkyrie.
That's where I've seen that. That's where I've seen that. That totally looks like something out of Robotech. That's so cool.
They retired it, sadly. But anyway. Transformers is where we're at. Now, Transformers built a pretty interesting but conflicting mythology
You know,
that really took off.
after that, its second series, after they started getting into the initial post movie run in the late '80s, early '90s, I kind of stopped
Yeah.
paying attention.
Yeah, it's just
I
all the
was a
tension from the series was basically gone.
Well,
yeah.
Hot Rod / Rodimus Prime was just not. He came out of nowhere, so you had. It wasn't like if Bumblebee took over as leader, then you might have some vested interest because you'd seen a character mature from simple, basic,
Yeah, but he's
you know,
Bumblebee. Like
dude,
he was
don't
always
dis,
the,
do
he was
not dis.
always the lamest character, like, and the lamest toy.
Motherfucker, you take that back. Ratchet was worse.
I will not take it back. At least Ratchet had a gun.
So did Bumblebee in the cartoon.
No, not
Oh,
the
did he?
toy. I'm talking about the toy. They all had guns on the show.
Oh,
Oh, yeah,
please.
okay.
That Bumblebee didn't turn from a vehicle into a piece of ass, okay?
No,
He was
turned.
identified
No,
the Volkswagen Bug, a beloved vehicle, I will have you know, into
beloved.
an identify my dad. Look, I was conceived in a goddamn Volkswagen Bug. You can go suck a giant dick, all right? Now, actually, had that happened, I wouldn't have been conceived. But that is neither here nor there. That is neither here nor there.
I think
The
it's both here and there myself.
The point being is that Bumblebee's robot mode was identifiably a robot mode. Maybe not one of the best ones, but as far as articulation went for the line, pretty decent. Unlike Ratchet, who turned into, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this?
I'll admit that the Ratchets and Ironhides were not great because I had an Ironhide and I was very disappointed because I always thought Ironhide was a semi-interesting character when they bothered using him on the show. So I was definitely disappointed in him. And honestly, I didn't care that Optimus Prime died in the movie. I cared that Ironhide got blown away. Like early on.
Yeah,
He was one of the first ones to get blown away, and that I kind of felt that.
But he got an epic send off with Megatron pointing his gun in his head, going, such heroic nonsense.
Yeah, sure, but I felt that, and that at that point, I already knew that they were going to start capping people, and they brought Optimus Prime back, so who cares?
Well, I thought it
They
was.
brought Jesus back. They made a whole religion about it.
I was gonna say, like, one of the things I thought was interesting about Hot Rod's story arc was like, so here's this, character who basically wins the war for them, and basically, sends the Decepticons packing, but like, and they're not really a threat anymore in the series, that comes after, after the movie, which is kind of like which is why like so much of the tension was just gone.
Sure.
So really what you had left in terms of like dramatic tension or like story tension was the fact that this guy didn't actually know how to lead. He couldn't really,
Yeah,
lead.
he was kind of all over the place.
So like that was like an interesting choice, but I remember watching some of those episodes after the fact, and it was just like most of the tension, like you spent like 2 minutes with the Decepticons while they're like desperately trying to get their shit together to maybe mount a counterstrike. And then you just have like the Autobots being like, "Where the hell is Rodimus Prime? Like, what is he? Is he there? Is he doing anything? Like, what's going on?"
Yeah, a lot of the leadership devolved on who was their second in command, like Ultra Magnus.
Ultra Magnus,
yeah,
who can't deal with that right now.
Do you remember the episode where they got turned into humans?
Yep.
I didn't see that one.
And
dude, that's where they had Cobra Commander at the end.
That's what I was going to say. Cobra Commander shows up at the end. He was
Old Snake.
I heard about that.
They called him Snake, and Old Snake, and he talks like Cobra Commander, who also means he talks like Starscream. So you didn't really pick up on it at first, at least I didn't. And then at the end, he's got this great walkaway line because this is set when the movie was set in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
The wild future of 2005, and then the the series takes place after that, and he's kind of like, they don't make terrorists like they used to anymore.
Oh,
Cobra!
that was a good episode. That was a good episode.
That was a good episode.
The third season had a few good ones. Not many, but a few.
Yeah, after that, I kind of checked out from watching the show. I was getting a little too old.
There really wasn't much past. There was a fourth season, but it had like 4 episodes.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
4 episodes.
And then it went away until they kind of rebooted it in like the late 90s.
It went away in America. Now in Japan. Instead of now in Japan, they aired the first 3 seasons of Transformers because they didn't have Transformers, mind you. Mm-hmm. Transformers was an American import story-wise.
Right.
Their 4th season was called Transformers: The Headmasters.
Right. I remember the Headmasters toys.
Which, and I'm gonna tell you right now, man, if you're in G.I. Joe and you become a headmaster, you start bunking with fucking shore leave real quick. But anyway, you'll get it eventually, Andrew. I'll explain to you.
We've already done an episode on the Venture Brothers. You don't need to tie in those jokes.
But anyway, you have the Headmasters, which was goofy in the Japanese way the cartoons can be goofy, but introduced some serious shit as well.
Uh-huh.
Then you had Transformers Super Chojan's God Force, which is that's where the Power Masters were and the Pretenders. And that one
as well.
That one involved like humans that developed psychic powers when they joined with this armor to become the engines of the Transformers. And they had some headmasters in that too. Okay. Then after that came Transformers Victory.
Okay.
And then after that came the single OVA, original video animation, episode of Transformers Zone, of which I at one point convinced Michael's wife to download off of her T1 connection at college for me and burn to a CD so I could watch it because all I had was dial-up.
Okay.
Now, I do not know if it broke one of her computers, but I do know she has some negative memories of it. So, I'm going to assume she watched it before she gave it to me out of interest.
Yeah, I have no idea. It might have just killed one of her hard drives. I'm not sure.
It might have. She should have known that anything that I want to watch in Japan probably is questionable. So you had that. So Japan, it carried on for a while and varied in tone. In America, it came back with the Beast Wars.
Right, Beast Wars. That's what I was thinking of.
Now, from Beast Wars came one of the most beautiful, delightful things on the internet. Michael, this is where we get into you and my favorite Transformers website ever.
Yeah, Transformers World's Worst Fan Fiction.
Oh,
Transformers World's Worst Fan Fiction.
No, I don't want to know anymore.
It was really bad.
Okay,
really,
it was
really
bad, but it was relatively pure in the sense that it was not slash fiction. It was just
poorly written fan fiction.
To be fair, by a 12-year-old. Most of it was based off a fanfic written by a 12-year-old who has since said, look, in all honesty, I was 12 years old, so the fuck you even, man. And I'm like,
what do you want? Yeah.
Yeah.
Where he did a self-insert fan fiction in Beast Wars, and it was completely inane and utterly stupid.
Yeah.
And then the guys who did this website went and did their own fan fictions, and then did their own revisions of previous Transformers episodes during the cartoon, of which they inserted a lot of running jokes. And hilarity ensued.
Some of it was actually pretty funny.
It was funny as fuck. Me and Michael would get drunk as fuck and read this shit.
Oh, okay.
When we weren't looking for goth porn. I mean...
I don't
as one does. Yeah. It was pretty funny though. They revised a bunch of the characters and their interactions, and
It just made
it was
fucking
funny.
hilarious. It was
pretty
gold.
funny.
It was fucking gold.
I'm gonna take your word on it. I'm gonna take your word on it.
Go. I think the website still just go back and look at it. It is not horrifying at all. It doesn't exist, Michael. It's pretty
still
funny,
around?
dude. Yeah, if it's still around, it's hilarious as fuck, dude.
Yeah.
Like, trust me, like it's hilarious in that kind of lowbrow, kind of making jokes in the early 2000s kind of way, but it doesn't really go too far. It's just, it's silly.
Mm-hmm.
It's silly with hilarious innuendo and reoccurring jokes, but it's largely fucking harmless. I mean,
Okay. I'll take your word
And
on it.
now we get into the revival of the dark ages of Transformers fandom before it went mainstream again. And this is where we enter such things as the Transformer conventions and how badly I am scared by Transformers fandom. No, this ain't even the rant yet.
Okay.
Where we at? No, this ain't the rant yet. This leads into the rant, though.
Okay.
Transformers fandom of around the early aughts.
Prior to the movies is what you're talking about. Prior to the Michael Bay films.
We try not to acknowledge those, but yes.
I was expecting that response, and it's still funny.
Transformers fandom wrote a lot. Now, World's Worst fanfic is hilarious, but it doesn't make me wake up in the middle of the night with cold sweats. I have seen some of the ideas put forward by Transformers fandom in the dark days. I have changed the names because I can't remember them, not because the innocent need to be protected, because no one is innocent here.
Okay.
The idea was touted around about the I cannot make this shit up. The nobility of Starscream. The misunderstood nobility of G1 Starscream.
See, that seems pretty standard for fan fiction for me. Like, the whole misunderstood.
The misunderstood nobility. Look, I can deal a lot more with the concept of Megatron being the abusive top to Starscream's bottom.
Ew, why? Why would you do that?
Because the cartoon supports it.
I don't want to hear these things.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm not done yet.
All right, keep going.
Transformers having children.
Okay, that's
and then
is that even
and then we're gonna get into it even more. And then Transformers /fic. Now
I mean, I guess
I don't.
Rule 42, is that it? Yeah, I don't know. I'm not on the internet.
I mean, look, I don't.
It's not Rule 42, but it should be.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't.
Rule 42.
37,
well,
whatever it is. It's
rule whatever it is. And this leads into modern interpretations of Transformers and people projecting their own issues onto alien robots.
I mean, isn't that just fan fiction, really?
Generally speaking.
Oh, no.
Okay.
This is where the soapbox comes out, and I climb on it, motherfucker.
All right, go.
This is where it starts. So, an interesting thing that happened in IDW's Transformers comic is that they depicted Transformers as having romantic relationships. Well, they have emotions, so this happens.
I feel as though there is some support for that on the TV.
This happens. I feel that this if you're emotional entities, romance happens.
Sure.
However,
makes sense.
Canonically, Transformers do not sexually reproduce, nor can they.
Because
they are emotional entities, but not sexual beings.
I'm with you. I'm with you so far.
So, I have heard this argument from two different opposing sides of it. I am staunchly in the middle. And thus becomes the argument of why I say there is no such thing as gay transformers.
Okay.
Hear me out.
Okay.
While transformers can present physiologically as male or female, they also sometimes present physiologically as animals. Now, if a human form Transformers has a romantic relationship with an animal form Transformer, is he or she committing bestiality? No,
Beast Wars.
because I mean their alt mode. I mean their main form, not their alt mode. Like Ravage, the cassette, he was a cassette in one mode and a Jaguar in the other.
Oh boy.
Now, let's say he had some kind of romantic relationship with, let's say, Rumble.
Okay.
Okay, well, fine, they do, whatever. Doesn't mean a goddamn thing. But many people like to interpret the male-seeming Transformers as having a relationship with one another as being gay. But this would imply that Transformers have sexuality. Now, they may have gender or present gender, but they do not have sexuality because they are not sexual beings. So, keep your weirdness off of my fucking toys. Okay?
I think that's where I come into wholehearted agreement.
Stop projecting your weird issues with sexuality onto goddamn robots. Look, if my toaster oven tries to go and fuck my microwave, is it gay? No, but I'm very confused.
I'm confused.
I'm very puzzled.
Here. And yet I'm not. And yet I'm not.
But I am puzzled. Okay? If my blender starts making out with my waffle iron, I'm equally as puzzled and wondering what nightmare domain I have woken up in. But at no time is
I can't
my
even
blender.
picture that. Like, that's not even a thing. Like, these are not things. This is like what Thomas Hobbes says, that you're not even saying words. You're just making sounds with your mouth.
Andrew, I can make these covers for the next issue of the UJ. Quiet it down. Now, I can. Now, does this mean
use them?
Does that mean that my toaster oven and my microwave are heterosexual? No, because they do not have sexuality. They're just two inanimate mechanical devices somehow having the tunnel of love in my kitchen and making me question whether I ever want to eat from them ever again, assuming fluids are involved, which I hope to God there are not. The point being,
I think you've made your point, homie.
I'm not done.
Okay.
So, what happens here is that you get one side going, ew, my Transformers are gay, and I don't like that. And then you have the other side going, yay, representation in Transformers. And both sides, in my personal and not very humble opinion, are dead fucking wrong because they are projecting their socio-dynamic issues onto motherfucking robot toys. It's not like, now you could do this with the GoBots because they were cyborgs. They had like humanoid brains in robot bodies. Okay, yeah, that was actually their origin.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did not know that.
Huh? Yeah, that's their origin.
All right, Hanna-Barbera.
Okay.
And they come from the lame ass planet called Gobatron. I'm like, Cybertron. Cybertron's a better name than Gobatron. Okay, that's just
pretty lame, actually. Looked remarkably similar too, from what I remember.
Yeah,
Gobatron actually looked like a planet with like an apple with a bite taken out of it.
Yeah,
Actually, it looked like an apple with it being bitten all around, and all you could see is the core and the top and half part of the apple, which
Yep.
no one eats anyway.
You know what? Always thought the writing on the GoBots cartoon, because it was always on right before Transformers, which was weird.
It was lame as fuck, dude.
I didn't think it was that bad. Like, I remember the characters at least being distinct. It was written. I mean, it was a Hanna-Barbera cartoon.
Yeah.
But
Look.
you know, there were the characters were at least distinct, and their motivations were clear. And I don't know.
Okay,
I didn't think it was that bad.
Whereas I will not deny that Transformers did have an episode where Starscream decided it'd be a great idea to open a discotheque to take over the world.
It wasn't a real episode, yeah.
Was it real? Called Auto Bop.
Right.
Less said, the better. I still maintain the GoBots. I can't remember a single plot from that cartoon, and I watched it just to see what is this nonsense. And I picked up the lore, but that's about all I did. I'm like, okay, like you have these. First of all, it's got way too